This is the Leadership in Insurance podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Good morning and welcome to the Emerging Tech series of the Leadership and Insurance podcast. I'm your host, Gavin Savage, and this is the podcast where we speak to technology founders, executives, and leaders from the world of InsurTech. And today, I'm very excited to be joined by the CPO of Symplifai AI, Erik Leung. Erik, welcome.
Hi. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming on. I know we've been trying to get this one in for a while. You've been busy on the road attending events within the InsurTech space, and we originally met in Barcelona, which is always rare but nice to be able to do these podcasts off the back of a face-to-face meeting in what is a very virtual world these days.
Yeah, I was. Time flies. I can barely remember that. 5 months ago since we last spoke. So we've been trying to set up meetings here and there in between. Just with each other in London. But here we are.
And then we're going to see a lot more of each other because you'll be in ITI London with myself. But hopefully we can get a good gauge on conversation today around everything InsurTech and AI. I know Symplifai AI were hugely popular at ITC Barcelona. I attended your speakers event. It was very interesting, and some of which we'll even unpack today, I'm sure. But before we get into everything, Erik, it's always a great start. If you could introduce yourself, how you kind of navigated firstly into tech and AI. You've always been, it seems, embedded within cognitive solutions, computing, AI, machine learning. And I guess how you ended up bringing that into the world of InsurTech with Symplifai AI.
Yeah. So very quickly, my name is Erik Leung. I've lived in actually 3 different continents, over 10 years each. So as an Asian, I lived in the US for 10 years, and now I'm settled in Norway, in Oslo. I have a tech background, education in California. And I worked in many different roles within the IT world, programming, different languages, different technologies, from database, data warehouse, BI, CRM. And then my life was kind of turned upside down when I was first introduced to AI through IBM Watson. And then when I saw that you don't really have to program everything, all the doors just opened. I mean, at that time, I was more towards the business side, working as a business developer. Mainly, the one red line that goes across my career has been bank and insurance. Actually, in the company that I worked in, I worked as a consultant in many different banks and insurance companies. So for me, it has been a very good understanding of the needs and the business problems that we're solving for them. But the thing is, when I saw what AI can do, I decided that it's time to really take the Silicon Valley mindset and start something for our own. And that's why I started Symplifai 6 years ago. And from then on, I was mainly responsible for the product development. And it's, of course, one thing is to make software, SaaS software. It's another thing is to make it for specific industries because you need to cater for the specific needs. So when it comes to the bank and insurance companies, especially insurance, there is a lot of legal compliance need is higher than most of the other industries that you come across. And for us, the mentality has been, if we're able to build something for insurance companies, we should be able to do well in other industries as well. So this is how we position ourselves at the beginning. But as journey has gone, we started 6 years ago when the hype of chatbot just came along.
Yeah.
And since then, we watched the hype goes up, and then we watched the hype dies down. And then all of a sudden, this year or the end of last year, ChatGPT came along, and then we brought up the whole AI hype once again. And being through the last wave, now it has kind of made us, in a way, understanding what this means for us, this hype. We got to serve it while it lasts, but at the same time, we also got to be embraced for the one day when people have just kind of come down into reality. So, been exciting.
Yeah, thank you. It's yeah, it's been, I think that kind of hype train that we're excuse me, on with AI is it's been a really interesting journey, particularly in insurance, of course, for the last 12 months with the release of ChatGPT and I think a lot of yeah, I think hype is the perfect word, you know, and it's not new. ChatGPT is new. I think large language models, machine learning, you know, they're going to do the heavy lifting. But you know, I think what I was really interested to have a conversation with you about was just that, you know, where you see the space going. But I guess for the listeners, you know, you've introduced yourself. It probably makes sense to introduce, you know, Symplifai AI. You know, what is the mission? What is the vision? And then we can get into the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mission, what prompts us to start at the company, Simplify, is that we see that a lot of workers every day in office space are doing very repetitive work. They're just doing the same thing, blindly just clicking through the systems, following some very basic instructions. And that for us is kind of a waste of talents, because I mean, to even make it into the office, you normally have to go through higher education, and going through all this school and only to ended up doing work that are so repetitive. For me, I think it's just a waste, especially when you consider there's so much to do in this world, and we need to free up their skill set, their time to tackle what's more suitable for them to solve, and leave these repetitive work for a system that AI can power. And so for us, we have derived a set of automation solutions to assist these employees, mostly in the insurance sector and other industries as well, to kind of do this repetitive work for them so that they can free up the time to tackle what's more suitable for what kind of task that is more suited for people. Communication with customers, for example, something that requires empathy. And that's kind of our mission in a way. And the way we do it is we basically just analyze how people work. And there's always these three elements within the work on every day. You have the interaction. You receive inquiries from customers, vendors, colleagues. And you need to make a decision on, is this something I can help with? Can I deal with this? Can I answer the question? Or what should I do with the inquiry? You follow a set of process. And then once you have understand, you made a decision, then you proceed to perform the action. So interaction, decision, action. And that for us in Symplifai is that we automate these three aspects of the day-to-day work and package it up into solution and make use of that in, say, insurance industry, for example. So right now, we're kind of mainly dealing with claim intake, for example, which is a very repetitive work, large volume, and it's take up a lot of time, but it's not exactly very productive because you're basically just transferring information from the claimer into the claim system. So that's basically what we do before we can talk about a little bit later on how GPT is going to change this landscape.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, from your perspective, I was going to ask, you know, who benefits the most from this? Who are the customers? You know, in terms of Symplifai AI, they're very much a software company, like providing that into the insurance company and into the insurance sector. But and I think you just kind of answered it there. You know, we're very focused on the claims element, and I think the claims the claims process is one that we hear a lot about quoting and binding, but we don't hear too much, you know, conversation around the topic of making the claims process more efficient and faster. and AI is, of course, probably the best way to penetrate that. And I mean, talk to me a little bit about the evolution of the products, because you'd mentioned at Barcelona DIA, which I think everyone was really fascinated about, which was your take on GPT in the insurance space. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's called Insurance GPT.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. A bit about insurance claim sphere. I can start with that first. So what we have done already is that we have taken the incoming inquiry in the form of an email and the document attachment that goes with it, and we have automated the process of bringing them into the claim system, ready to be processed by a claim processor. Now, but the thing is, of course, naturally, the claim is not finished at that point. It's just being registered. So
Yeah.
when there is a large team of professionals who are dealing with these claims every day still, even for our customers, then when we see the potential of GPT to combine their ability to produce text, generate a sort of a report, document, letters, outbound communications, and when we combine that with a set of knowledge into a knowledge base that can allow itself to be prompted by the language model, and all of a sudden you are able to mimic the amount of professional experience, education that a claim processor has, and we can use that to build a model to help each of these claim processors to be more effective and to validate their decisions to make sure that they are stays consistent. And that's what we're doing with Insurance GPT. Every claim processor, theoretically, with this, should be able to be twice as effective. We can measure that by the number of cases they're able to deal with during the course of a year. But we have saved them a lot of time to read the documents because we already have the tech to do it. We can save them the time to cross-reference check with law text, some of the historical cases, for example. And you basically have a preliminary decision in front of you that all you have to do is just to do a sanity check, and then it's good to go. So it's a new way of dealing with claims in a way that would have made the speed and the quality at a completely different level.
And that obviously then allows the claims processor to really hone in and focus purely on the more human elements of the job and allow them to humanize the claims process somewhat, because I think the danger is going too deep down the road of automating the claims process where the human being or the customer on the receiving end of the claim is really not dealing with a human being at all. It's the constant AI, it's constant bots. But I think what you're suggesting is that allows them to be twice as efficient, as you've said, and then that brings in the more humanizing aspect of the claims process, which I think, from quoting to binding and signing up to your policy, you kind of want all that bit automated. You don't really need to speak to people, in my opinion. The part that you want a human being fully focused on you is at the claims part, personally.
So I've gotten some great insight a couple of weeks ago when I was in London. I sat in a round table with a lot of insurance companies. Most of them are the large ones. And we were spoken of course, for people like us. Now, first of all, I haven't filed a claim in over 10 years. So then even if I do, I would use one of the digital channel and then it would just go through and then play ever after. But through them, I got to realize that it's not exactly all of it. There is still a decent percentage of inquiry related to the claim. It's not about actually filing the claim, but it's to call the insurance company to get the comfort that, okay, am I covered?
Yeah.
Or sometimes they know their policy don't cover, but they was just hoping that they can get, sorry, but it isn't, or hopefully maybe they can get a positive surprise. And you can't really automate that part away, but you can at least free up the time of the claim processor to be more empathetic and spend a little bit more time and more human side of the processing to give them that comfort while we're dealing with the other inquiries. And on the other aspect is for us who are probably in a state of shock or sadness if something happened to us that we need to file a claim, then maybe I would rather have the efficiency of getting it done quicker. So when you combine the two, on one end, as an insurance company, you really should have a track that is even faster than today to deal with the people who just wants the claim processed. I mean, if something hits my glass on my windshield on my car, I have the full coverage, and of course I expect that to go through, zero question asked. On the other hand, is that you have other people who probably have something really bad happen to their house and don't even know where to proceed from there, and
Yeah.
get the help a little bit on the personal level from the customer support.
Interesting. And those insights are hugely valuable as you continue to evolve this product in such a competitive space. And I think there's it seems like it's true AI innovation at Symplifai. I mean, it seems like also the product that you're building, the technology is globally, should be globally accepted. I mean, what markets are you working? Are you working EU and the US? Is this able to go into every line of business within insurance? Like, it just seems like it could be a very ubiquitous kind of product and innovation within insurance.
Theoretically, when we build the platform as it is, it could really apply to many different industries. But the thing is, that is only on the tech level. But when you come down to the competitive space, especially in AI, there's just new companies popping up every week, right? And in that regards, then you will need to have sort of a leverage over your competitors. And on tech, especially with the large language model, with the platform that is being opened up by OpenAI or Microsoft, it's easy to train a new model for anything. I mean, I have my chief designer train an LLM model to validate the design of the team. So it makes it very difficult then to distinguish yourself simply by being better on tech, because people won't know it until they use it, right? So then what do you do? Then you need other type of leverage, and that for us, it states in the compliance, because as I mentioned, we work mainly with the finance sector, insurance especially, and they have a higher requirement to the processing of sensitive information, and they are very careful when it comes to risk. So, and that would to actually be on this level in terms of preserving the privacy, information security, we put ourselves above probably 80-90% of available AI vendors out there, because they just want to make sure the model works. But does it sit in somewhere safe? That's a different discussion, right? So in Europe, we have this leverage. And of course, a lot of companies are focusing mainly on English because that's a larger language. And of course, coming from Norway, we need to cater for more language already at the beginning. So we have that part of things as well. But despite that, we still don't believe that's enough. Not in the world of GPT, because there are just simply so many coming, even in Europe. Now, what we need to do is that we need to be even more focused on a given industry, on a given use case. And with that amount of understanding of how that works, having a customer reference, and spending the time to actually acquire the necessary subject matter expert as well as the relevant data to tune the model very specifically for that use case and cater for all aspect automation from end to end. That's when, in a way, the emerging of the GPT is what kind of prompt Symplifai to move from this generic AI automation platform to be very specific towards insurance. And that's kind of the change. And so when you see us in Barcelona this summer, we've already taken that step. And that's why we are going together with our partner, with our customer on stage by saying, you know what, we are going together to build Insurance GPT. Because then people will get the image that this is not just some tech boys in a dark room trying to figure things out. This is validated with the large insurance player in the industry. And in fact, we actually have several within a customer reference board, so that we actually get the knowledge, not just for one customer, but generically across the different industries and different types of insurance even.
And investment within AI and insurance, as you say, AI companies are popping up every day, every week it seems, and particularly, we're seeing a lot of excitement and optimism within insurance for once, because it was kind of met with a bit of reticence a few years ago. AI and insurance, it's risky. We can't contain it. We're not sure how we can control this. Now the attitude's changed. Like, investors want to constantly see AI within a pitch deck for the next kind of insurtech company coming up. But, what are you, as a kind of leading expert out there working with such a successful company in the insurance space, what do you kind of see at the moment in terms of how do you really add value? So, a good example is, in the life and health space within insurance, the big thing for carriers to partner with technology companies, if they're not offering API cutting edge technology, they're subpar value. There's really nothing you can kind of offer the space from a technology standpoint if it's not cutting edge, leading API integration middleware. From an AI perspective, how do you feel like people can add the most value with their products in the insurance space? Or that's quite a big question, but I guess my point is, what advice do you have for people, I guess, maybe that are starting an AI company or thinking of within the insurtech, or maybe you don't want to answer that and give your competition an edge?
One of the things I learned in the early days is that if you're thinking that your competition is going to take your idea, try sell it. Sell your idea to your close competitor and see if they will implement it right now. So no, I gladly would share. We have already taken a step away from the tech first approach in a way. What we focus on now is what are some of the challenges our target audience, our ideal customer profile ICP is facing. And yeah, we would like to think that insurance is there already highly digitalized. There's a portal, there's chatbot, there's everything that is supposed to be there to be very good at writing out policy on underwriting, handling with claims, or fixing the payout, or even checking the fraud. But the thing is, in reality, if you really experience the insurance company from a customer perspective, there's still a lot of imperfection. You hear stories like people are being picked up for random check for fraud, even though it was a very trivial claim cases. Then I hear a story of people who actually have some understanding of how the system works, just consistently file claim every time the person is on the travel because they know the amount is low enough, it just gets straight through. There are still little things like this here and there, and that makes me believe that we're able to help the insurance company to take the next step through the use of it. But you got to first understand what the problem is first, and then you'll figure out how to solve that with technology. So if I take the example of tackling the people who are basically just filing claims knowing it will go through because the amount is low enough, we can make the company so efficient that it would be worth it to dig into a case, even if it is just €100. Right. Then you've gotten that, right? Or even less than that, even €50. But then you need the help of an AI because the cost of, once you have the system, the marginal cost of actually handling one more claim is very little. But when you first have the system in place, that's when you have done the transformation of opening up a lot more opportunities. Well, then you can start connecting the dots. Maybe you can connect life or health insurance with the medical, which there's already a lot of companies doing that. Maybe there is a way of connecting the car brand, the driving school with the insurance. And I see a lot of potential still that hasn't been tapped into simply because of there's just not enough resources to look into it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's endless possibilities right now. I couldn't possibly sit here and ask you, where exactly do you feel the gaps are that AI could fill? Because I think there's probably an endless list of things that AI can fill in terms of gaps. But what's your feeling on this? The hype train that we discussed earlier, coming back to everything going on about AI, generative AI, the status quo. Again, a lot of excitement with ChatGPT. For me, there's the analogy of the tortoise and the hare, and the hare is generative AI, and the tortoise is large language models and machine learning, which has been going for a considerable amount of years, 20 plus years probably. My opinion is that all this excitement around generative AI, I don't really, and again, I'm happy to be, you know, challenged and told that I'm wrong on this, but I just don't think that generative AI is going to be the thing that takes insurance and insurtech specifically as an industry to that next level. I really believe that the large language model, being the tortoise, is going to be the one that really transforms the industry over a sustained period of time, because people, as you say, have to work out the problem first. I don't think many people actually know what to do with generative AI and insurance, but they're just very excited about it. Like, what's your feelings on the kind of status quo? And I guess to that point,
It's a good analogy, actually. Um, whenever I get some open questions like these, and then trying to look a bit ahead, the first thing I
yeah,
normally do is I look back, in the history. Have we experienced these kind of things before? Now, when I was much younger than I am now, in the 90s, I was in middle school to high school, and that was
mm,
kind of the boom of the internet first came along. And I was in California, I was in Fremont, and and then when you hear everybody is talking about internet is the next big thing, and then my avatar who I stayed with was working at Cisco at that time, and then we get some, of course, the modem, and we can connect to internet, and then you can see. And then at that time, you realize that maybe you can't do too much with it. You get some basic websites, you have some basic information that you can read. But who would have known? Fast forward it to 30 years later, internet,
mm,
one of the things we just cannot live without. We're connected in many different ways, simultaneously, even. You can say the same about generative AI. It's almost like a concept that
mm,
instead of us human have to generate everything, where AI just helps us to do the thinking, which was the previous version of the AI when chatbot was such a big thing. It's just that it can understand things, but it's very dumb when it comes to providing the response. Now we got something a little bit more. It can provide you with it can even write you a book. It can write you a song, and from that point on, it's up to our imagination to what more we can use that to help us. And I believe that once it's here, we just need some time for the society to sink in and let their imagination get used to the technology, and then start deriving new ways of make use of it. And make no mistake, at this moment we're still bounded. If you use the hare in the total example, the rabbit is actually being tied down on the foot by two things, in my opinion. One thing is the machine power. We've spoken of quantum computing for quite some time, because that's when you
yeah,
can really crank things in a much higher speed. Where the world is scraping GPUs dry because of all the models that needs to be trained. It's been limited there in some sense. So
mm,
we're quite not there yet. And once that unleashes, maybe we can do a lot more. I hope so, certainly. And the other part that we currently also are being binded is the internet speed. Right now, we're just starting with the 5G, and even then, I don't think it's even enough to power, let's say, self-driving cars, if you ask me. And
yeah,
if you have a much faster internet speed to transfer data on a completely different level, combining with the much more powerful machine power to crank the data, I'm pretty sure we can do things on a much more advanced level than what we are just seeing today with a few examples here and there on generative AI. I mean, we certainly don't want to really just use something that is supposed to be so profoundly useful on just
mm.
writing a song, for example, which is what my son did. He was just rewriting a song that he was doing. I don't know how to write the text. Oh, chat GPT, please help me, kind of. It can do a lot more than that. Well, the future that I see is that generative AI is not our assistant, but they're our teacher.
But that's the thing that, as you say, when we reference the, again, to go back to the tortoise and the hare analogy, and the person's holding the hare down by holding the hare back by its feet. It's that aspect. They're afraid of it becoming the teacher, as opposed to they just want to maintain it and keep it as the assistant, because there's that that fear probably driven by, I guess, maybe an insecurity about are their jobs going to be at risk? Are they going to take over at one point? But you've kind of touched on it there. But I guess AI within insurance beyond, this is a very difficult question to answer. I appreciate, but in the next kind of 10 to 20 years, beyond policy admin, increased efficiency and operational fluidity, where do you kind of see what's your vision of where the insurance space and other sectors, but more specifically insurance space, where do you see it really taking it? AI and I guess, generative AI as well.
Yeah. Now, despite I worked a lot with insurance companies, but I actually haven't had a post as somebody in the operational side of insurance. But we do speak a lot about where things are heading. One of the ones I heard a talk that actually had made an impression on me is that the time when something is truly advanced and we're finally in the future is when we stop talking about it. Now we still talk about you buy insurance on top of something. You buy a car and then you go and buy car insurance. You buy a home and then you go and buy home insurance. But ultimately, it shouldn't have to be so. If we can just embed it as part of the services that everyone provide, then you no longer actually have to think of the concept of insurance. It's just that, okay, this is what happens when something broke. And then it would just be embedded in the terms of use of the object that you're buying. And how do you do that? That's when the insurance company have to also make the necessary adjustment. Imagine this. Through AI, more capable insurance company becoming even more competitive, and you will have the laggers who will fall out. And when you are starting to be there, then you will prompt some company to be even more creative on refining their business model. Instead of just sitting here, cranking out the math and giving you the insurance policy, maybe they need to be proactively get themselves into vendors. Kind of like the credit card, how it's now binded. If you go to a shop, buying a TV, you pay in 24 months. You practically signed up for a credit card without knowing it sometimes.
Yeah.
Insurance could very much be on a similar level. It's just that we're talking about innovation beyond tech, but it's on the business model. When you're there, maybe insurance sphere will be even converges further to even fewer players because they're able to handle large volume of claim cases through the use of tech. Then they can have a much bigger appetite for the market share than what they have today. Because today, if you want to twice your business, if you want to double your business, you need to hire twice as many people dealing with the claims. You're getting away from that right now until you have a way of automating some part of it so that the growth of labor is not linear to the growth of revenue. But once the tech is in place, once GPT is or generative AI is doing the work for parts of the operation, I believe that it free up the ability for some company to grow monstrously. And then you really can think of very creative way of embedding the insurance product into our everyday life.
Interesting. Well, look, I could chat to you all day about AI. I guess as a finishing point, you've built a team, you and your other founders and leaders in the business. You built a team across Norway, Ukraine, and India. It's primarily, mainly all technology, I think. Obviously, there's other functions to it. It seems like a big tech function. How has that journey been for you? Trying to build that team across different countries, different regions. From a cultural perspective, whilst trying to evolve such a rapid-paced product that is AI. You've not picked the easiest thing to do in both camps there. But how's the journey been? And I guess the finish point, what's next for you on the radar in the team at Symplifai AI for the next 6 to 12 months?
So definitely, of course, it goes without saying when you're managing an international team, it's slightly more complex than if everyone sits in front of you. But it's rewarding in many ways because Norway is a small country. It's always a challenge for any Norwegian tech company to get enough smart people, get enough heads who are willing to put up the work to build a product. Because the consultancy business in Norway is going doing really well, and they naturally would be able to get the best people first, stable, and so forth. But India is, of course, a country with 1.5 billion population, and you're more likely to come across to be able to build a strong team from there that would form the foundation, the team of developers, the product development, front end, back end, even data science. We have a lot of good talent from India. But when it comes to building the SaaS, the visuals, we've gone to Ukraine because from there we have also, from my previous job, I kind of experienced working with smart people in Ukraine, and the design sense, the ability to execute it's great. And tying these together, then all of a sudden we have a much more scalable team. There are of course challenges. I've heard people say how offshoring or outsourcing doesn't work. It's because people take the approach of managing an international team as if you're managing a local team. And that, of course, will give you some issues. But it requires a lot more follow-up. It requires a lot more status meetings. Stand-ups has to be every day. And you probably have to sync with individuals probably multiple times during a day. So the management overhead is higher. But on the other hand, is that you probably get a hold of the same quality of people at half or 1/3, 1/4 of the cost. And that makes the budget that you raise funding with can last you much longer. And that also enhances our survival. So looking back, I think that was one of the best decisions that we've done, is that we have chosen to build an international team from day one and not encapsulate ourselves within the boundaries of Norway only. It helps with both building the team, developing the product. But over time, when you have the development base in India, you're bound to get the inbound lead. And that's what happened to us. And when we start getting the inbound leads at the frequency that we realize that maybe we actually do have a market in India. I mean, obvious at the beginning. We never thought about selling to India first. I mean, if we go from Norway, it would naturally be Sweden, Denmark, UK, Germany. And then all of a sudden, we got so many inbound leads from India that we start taking them seriously, and we start developing a team to work the market there as well. And now it's actually it's contributing to a significant amount of our recurring revenue as well. So who would have thought, right? I mean, in the labor is cheap, it should be easy to just hire a bunch, but yet AI automation is still useful, even in India, because the volume is so high. I mean, for them, it's a hassle to recruit 50 people a year. It's like us recruiting for 5 in Norway. So it's the same business problem, just a different number, different scale. And so we have enjoying the growth there as well.
I think that's it's a difficult question to answer. How you get it right and how it works for you as a business. But I think that was just some fantastic insight onto that managing an international team. We see it being managed like in a local fashion, which is, and then the obvious reasons. But I think the insight you give as to how you kind of go about your day to day is massively beneficial to people that are thinking about doing that route. I know at FinPro we're very close to potentially doing the same and working with teams in India, and it is it's you need to treat it differently, but yeah, like as I say, really insightful. And what's kind of next for you guys? In the next 6 to 12 months, is it heads down? Building, continuing to evolve the product? Is it scaling the team? Like, what's on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, there will be 2-3 initiatives that we definitely will need to complete in the next 6 to 12 months. One is, of course, make a dent in the universe, if I should use the term, with the insurance GP. We are nearing the completion of deploying with our first insurance customer. And with that, then people can actually see it, not just on the PowerPoint or video level, but they will be able to see how that works, right? And then the second one is we will need to be focusing a lot more on the insurance. We need to build a team that actually understands insurance. So this kind of are marrying to a given industry. Then in addition is that we need to also look back how GPT or generative AI as a technology can help us to enhance what we already have built of the AI automation platform from Symplifai. And we see a lot of potential to use that technology to enhance our own product performance as well. And of course, internally, we are embracing the technology. We are getting Copilot, by the way, once it is available, so that we are able to enhance the efficiency of everyone as well within the organization. So
Wow.
it's really exciting times ahead.
Yeah, super exciting. There's a lot going on there. But look, good luck. I look forward to seeing you in ITI London next year, Erik. But it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for giving us your time and coming on and discussing all of this. It's been a lot of fun and much appreciated.
Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.